we're going to be doing today is lesson 1.2, which is adding integers. Okay, so by the end of class today, you should use a number line and make sure that you're adding. And then as soon as you get better at this, you will be able to just apply the rules and figure out the answers. So first thing I want to ask you, is the sum of two integers positive, negative, or zero? It should be negative. Well, we don't know. So what we have to do is we have to draw a number line. Okay? Two integers, this could be positive, this could be negative, they could be zero. So if I have the sum of number one, -3 plus -4, what we do is we start at 0 and we go back to -3, which is here, that's -3. When we're adding -4, that's going back 4 more, so we count back 1, 2, 3, 4, and that leaves us at -7. So our answer is -7. Okay? Another way to think about this is make circles or with positives in there and make a circle with negatives in there. Okay, so if I have -3, that's 3 that are negatives here. And I'm adding 4 negatives to it. So that's 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice we don't have any positives, but we have all negatives, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my answer is -7. And the only reason that they put these parentheses around that number there is to show that it is a negative number. It doesn't mean to do what's inside of it. Okay? Number 2, it says 5 plus -3. So we're going to do it two different ways. We're going to look at the number line. 5 plus -3. I am going to go over to 5, because that's positive. I go over to 5, and I'm adding -3. Well, adding -3 is going back 3. 1, 2, 3, and that leaves me at 2. Okay, so let's look at these circles here. There's a positive, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there are 3 negatives. And if you remember from elementary school, when a negative and a positive come together, they go away. So those negate each other. This one negates that one. This one negates that one. And we're left with 2 of them that are positive. I also like to think of this in terms of money. If I have $5 and I owe somebody $3, I only have $2 left. Okay? Let's look at number 3. It's -3 plus 2. Okay? If I look in my circles, I have -3 plus 2. Well, if you look at them, there's 3 of them that are negative. 1, 2, 3, and 2 of them that are positive. Okay, these 2 are going to negate each other, and these 2 are going to negate each other, which means my answer is -1. Okay, so you got to start asking yourself, if you have one of each sign, are you really adding them to get -1? We sure aren't. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. -7 plus 7. Okay, if I go onto my number line and I go over to 7, and I'm adding -7, I'm back at 0. Okay, these are actually opposites. When you add opposites, you get 0. Or we call that the additive inverse. 2 plus 6, this is when we were little. You were little. 2 plus 6, or 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. You just add them. The same thing is with -6 plus -2. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives, and I'm adding to it another 2 negatives. And we get -8. Okay, you can also use your number line to do the same thing. Okay? If you go over to -6, start at 0, you go over to -6, and we're going another 2. negatives, which we're at -8. Okay, number 7. We've got 15 positives and 1 negative. You're kind of probably seeing the pattern here. If you have one of each sign, are we really adding them? We sure aren't. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take 15 and we're gonna subtract 9 and we're gonna get the answer 6. But we have to keep the sign of the one that we put on top or furthest, which is 15. So that's +6. Okay? Number 8, it's -6 plus -8. We're going down to -6 on the number line. Here's 0. We're going down to -6. And we're adding another -8, which means we're going farther away from 0. So we're still going to be in the negative. So what we do is we add 6 plus 8. We look at their absolute values. We add them, and we get 14. But then we've got to keep the sign, which is negative. Okay? So here are your rules. If you are adding two integers with the same sign, for example, -6 plus -8, or 4 plus 2, they have the same sign. You are going to add them and keep the sign. Add them and keep the sign. Okay? And you can even say, I'm going to add their absolute values like we did up above. If you are adding one of each sign, a positive and a negative. So for example, -6 plus 3. We take their absolute values and we are going to actually subtract and take the sign of the quote bigger. That does not mean it's bigger. It's the bigger absolute value. Okay, take the sign of the bigger number or the bigger absolute value. Okay, so let me show you on the one above. We take the absolute value of each of these. It's one of each. It's 6 and 3. We know they're one of each, so we're going to subtract, and we get 3. And we take the sign of this one's number in the original problem, which was -3. Okay? Make sense? All right, so I want you guys to do number 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, we're going to look at number 13. Okay, this is all addition, and according to our order of operations, it says that we have to go from left to right. So you're going to show me -8 plus 13. Well, that's one of each, so I drop off the signs, take the absolute value. 13's bigger, so I'm going to do 13 minus 8, which is 5, and take the sign of the 13, which is positive. So this is going to become 5 plus -13. That's the next step. Look at, we have one of each here. Okay? Take their absolute values. This one's 5, that one's 13. 13's bigger, so I'm going to go 13 minus 5, which is 8. And I've got to take the sign of the 13, which was negative. You've got to show me that work. Number 14, I'm going to show you a little bit different because these are all addition, right? So notice these two here are negatives. I can use my commutative property and switch the order, can't I? Sure can. Since these are both the same sign, I'm really just going to add them together. So I've got 12 plus 15, which is 27. I got to keep the sign and drop down my 25. Now it's one of each. Okay, drop the signs off. It's really 27 minus 25, which is 2. But then I got to keep the sign of the number I put first, which is negative. When we have story problems like this, it says the temperature this morning was -8 degrees Fahrenheit and increased 14 degrees. what was the temperature in the afternoon? Okay, our question is, what was the temperature in the afternoon? Remember, when you define your variable, which we're just going to do for fun here, we're going to let T equal the temperature afternoon. Okay, so when we're figuring this one out, let's look at it. Some key words. Increased. Oh, that means to add, right? Okay, so it started at -8 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold. I'm not looking forward to that. And it increased, so we're going to add 14 degrees. And that will equal my T. So it's one of each, right? So we're really going to take 14 minus 8, which is 6. Okay, and we're going to take the sign of the 14, which was positive. So the T, the temperature, is going to be 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, just be careful. Make sure you guys always read those. Bring those problems back or start on your work.